Hey everyone, gonna talk some Bat again. I think part of the fun, well, a number of reasons why it's fun in particular to talk Bat books. There's always plenty of them coming out. I've got these three to talk about this week. Um, but also, I feel like since plenty of people are following the Batman books, I can spoil them. So there's gonna be spoilers here. If you haven't read them yet or you don't want them spoiled, um, come back later, I guess. Uh, and there's lots of other people talking about them, so it feels like a conversation. Uh, First up, brand new book, a mini series, I believe. Does it say on the cover? I believe it's 6 issues. Yep, one of six. Batman Arkham Knight Genesis. Another prequel, I guess, to the Batman Arkham Knight video game, because we already have what's it called? Batman Arkham Knight, which is called the official prequel to the Arkham trilogy finale. This one, they don't say that. And another difference between that and the Batman Arkham Knight, without the Genesis part, is the regular Batman Arkham Knight is a digital first, and it comes out weekly, I think, with each half a page done as a digital page, and then they collect 3 weeks worth into a monthly issue. So every page is literally two half pages put together, if you see what I mean. So nothing. There's no full page spreads. There's no double page spreads for sure. Everything can be split in half, which amazingly still reads better in print, if you ask me, than digitally. But Batman Arkham Knight Genesis is a print first. Why this is print first and the other one's digital first, I don't know. I don't know, like if they were thinking people would just read this who are into regular comics, that these are two separate, slightly different audiences. I don't really know. I don't really understand the thinking. I would think if you're interested in one, you'll be interested in the other. And they're both written by Peter Tomasi, so I assume they'll be consistent. Plus, they both have to be consistent with the game, right? I don't know if in the game people know already who the Arkham Knight is. Were people who were reading this one, the regular Batman Arkham Knight, knowing who the Arkham Knight was? The Arkham Knight just kind of shows up sometimes here, and when we think more is going to happen with him, then he disappears for several issues. This is obviously going to be focused on him and his origin and his motivations and everything, and I'm already hooked. I mean, this issue hooked me in. I want to know more about this character who, the big spoiler, is revealed as... Dun dun dun. Can you tell who that is? I didn't know when they revealed it. It's Jason Todd. I figured it out after another page or two. I am not the world's leading expert on Jason Todd. I did not read the original Jason Todd Batman and Robin stuff. I was not reading Batman at that time. I was vaguely aware of Death in the Family at the time, but I was not buying it. I was not reading it. When they bought Jason Todd back as Red Hood, I sort of knew about that, but I didn't read a lot of those issues. I knew that there was a big reveal when the Red Hood turned out to be Jason Todd, brought back from the dead. I know that now that Jason Todd is, I guess, in the regular continuity, willing to kill, where Batman isn't. In things like Batman Eternal and stuff, apparently he still has a relationship with Batman. I wasn't sure if that was the case, supposed to be the case. So I have a lot of little bits of confusion about Jason Todd in my mind. And in a sense, this will only confuse me more, I suppose, because this is a alternative Jason Todd. He's not becoming Red Hood. Was he Red Hood before he was Arkham Knight? I don't think so. So So yeah, it's like an Elseworlds Jason Todd story, and as such, it seems excellent. Um, there's something just a lot of fun about about the backstory they give. A lot of backstory will feel like an info dump, a fill-in, but I felt just sucked into the story, and it looks like there's a and I don't know if this is a twist or whether there's some history here that Jason Todd is working with Hush, who currently looks like Bruce Wayne. Um, so yeah, that's very interesting to me. A very nice twist. I'd say I'd say the issue got off to a slightly weak start because I wasn't quite sure what was going on. I didn't immediately realize that this was Hush. I guess I should have, the trench coat and the bandages, but I was just confused. I just wasn't sure who it was. Um, and there was something about the drawings that was a little bit muddled. I really like this woman's art style, and for the most part I like the coloring, but there's points, and unfortunately in the first few pages, where the pictures took me too long to decipher. Um, like here, I guess the Arkham Knight is kicking the rat catcher, and it takes a minute just to figure out where the rat. Oh, that's the rat catcher's body, and there's the Arkham Knight's foot. Um, but I think once I got maybe up to page 4, then the comic started really clicking for me, and after that, I had minimal struggle with it. I did not recognize that was what Jason Todd looked like, so I didn't know. Oh, we have Jason Todd, um, but I soon suspected, and then figured out it was Jason Todd. And it makes me curious to find out more about the original Jason Todd, and is this the exact same backstory? The backstory of the drug addict parents is pretty intense, and makes Jason Todd a more twisted, disturbed character to me than I realized he was, before he was killed and all of that. One interesting thing is, I'm pretty sure they made a pretty obvious mistake on ages. They said, I reminded him of the fact before Maroni, that's reminded him, his father, before Maroni put a bullet in each of their brains on my 13th birthday. So Maroni put a bullet in his parents' brains on his 13th birthday. And then we switch ahead, and it says, by the time I was 15, I was the best runner in Gotham. And then he says, the price for this piece was my parents, who by that point had broken their word to enough loan sharks and bones in my body, and I didn't even blink giving them up. So Maroni killed his parents at age 13, and he gave his parents up at age 15. So that's a quibble. That was the only thing. I don't know why that bothered me so much, but I think that kind of thing makes me worried. Is the writer paying much attention? It might be to Tomasi. This is a 6-issue Elseworlds. It's not something that he has to live with, so to speak. But anyway, I really enjoyed this. I think I'm going to have to jump back on Detective when Tomasi starts writing it again. I think he starts writing it while Bat Gordon is still in the saddle. So I'm less excited about that, but I'll probably, the moment Tomasi, I'll buy any Batman book that Tomasi writes at this point. I'm gaining more and more confidence in him. So this was definitely a big Batman thrill for the week. But that wasn't the only one. But before I get to the other one, let me talk about Batgirl. I liked last issue. I felt it wasn't as strong as, and I've missed some of this run, but I felt it wasn't as strong as most of the Batgirls of this current version of Batgirl that I've read. But this issue was the first issue I read where I was like, ho hum, I'm not really interested. This is boring. There was a lot of someone once compared this to Archie. Archie is actually better because it's silly and funny. There's a lot of teenagey kind of soap opera, for lack of a better word. And I think, like her friend Alicia, is that her name? Is Alyssa is getting married to someone named Joe, and they're planning out the marriage, and it's all just kind of happy character stuff. There is a twist towards the end. There's something about Joe, about her, about Alyssa's girlfriend that we're about to have revealed to us. I think or maybe I thought it was going to be a reveal, but then it was more just that she was getting caught up. Her environmental activism got her caught up in this animal stuff with the tiger. So it wasn't really, I don't know. I guess I'm confused on that point. If there's some revelation about her partner, I think that was a misdirection. So yeah, I just found a lot of the goings on in her social life uninteresting. I was just buying into everything less, and at the same time, the art has become even simpler, relying even more on the color. Like, I like these pages, which I'm not sure why these are done differently. The coloring style's done differently. Art-wise, I like those better than pages like this somehow. I also don't find very compelling Batgirl versus a tiger. I don't know. It just suddenly this book felt even younger to me and just didn't have any little extra bit to it to keep me interested. So I don't know. I think I'll try one more issue of Batgirl, and if it keeps feeling this way, I guess maybe I'll drop it. I don't know. It's not painful to read, but it's just getting less exciting. Getting more exciting is Grayson. As everyone always says, you've got the awesome art of Mikhail Janin, and Mikhail Janin, who was great all along, even before he started Grayson. He's just in high gear in the work he does on Grayson. And this issue gives us new levels of twists and turns and a new way to think about some past events and who died and who didn't die and who was on what, who was feeling what, you might say. But it is Janin's art that just steals the show, even though it's a very clever, spy twist kind of thing. But I think even if it were a lot weaker written, the art would carry it in a big way. These writers on Grayson are so lucky to have Janin be the one they're working with, as far as I can tell. So yeah, there's this great reveal, which maybe I don't need to spoil this to talk about it, but great reveal of someone from the past. I do feel like they have this hypno technology that makes people not be able to see your face or not be able to remember your face. I thought at first it was, but now I guess it can completely disguise you and completely make you look like someone else, including for security cameras or whatever you need. So someone is using that technology to pretend to be Grayson, and they also, I guess, can use that technology to wipe someone's memories. But then we also have the idea that you can rip, if you are one of the agents, you can rip the hypnos out of your eyes. Maybe they're using the hypno stuff in your that's been implanted in your eyes that is supposed to hypnotize other people to hypnotize you as the agent. Maybe that's it. And he ripped stuff out of his eyes, and then he could see who was really there, which I'm not sure makes sense, given that they're supposed to be able to hypnotize regular people. So if you rip the stuff out of your eyes and you're a regular person, maybe you can't have your mind fiddled with. But the fact is, this other agent, the one with the turban, I forget if he's called Agent 1. He either is then later, even though he's ripped the hypnos out of his eyes and he can see who's really who, he's either blackmailed or convinced to lie to his superiors, or he is, or he's re-hypnotized to believe wrong information. So some wrong information is passed on to Spiral about who their enemy is and who is pretending to be Dick Grayson, and so more chaos is going to ensue. And at the end, we get this person, Dr. Netz, and that's the one thing I wasn't sure of. I need to go back. Is Dr. Netz the cannibal scientist that they kind of saved and brought in, or is she someone else? I can't remember who Dr. Netz is. Anyway, those were more... I'm not sure if they made mistakes here or whether it doesn't really matter. Still all very exciting stuff. A great, not realistic kind of spy agency versus spy agency, kind of the modern successor, I feel, to like the heyday of Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Jim Steranko period in particular, and some of the Jack Kirby stuff done with Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So yeah, the same kind of, it's fun, but it's intense, and the spy agencies are just so over the top. I still, way in the back of my mind, just because I'm thinking in terms of the Bat world, it feels like in Gotham, in the regular Bat book, people know Batman died and now someone else has taken over, and he works for the police. So how come Grayson doesn't know this? Or how come no one can contact him? And there's still the whole issue of the fact that they know he's Grayson, and they know he was Robin, and they know he was Nightwing and all that. They know all this stuff about him. There's just that whole thing hovering over it, and I guess I'll just have to, I do as I read it, accept things for the way they are. But then when I talk about it to you now, it suddenly all pops back into my head. There was, I guess I haven't talked before, there was also a BatGirl annual a while ago, which I got a little late and read. And that was a light, fluffy piece. It kind of reminded me of a really old, like 70s or 60s Marvel Spider-Man annual, where he might just have this adventure where he meets various people from the Marvel universe. And back then it was a thrill that they all could actually meet each other, and it had that kind of feel. It was kind of inconsequential, but and it had a bunch of different artists drawing it. I don't have it with me in front of me, but one of my favorite artists in there was what's his first name? David LaFuente, and he does this cover, and I'm kind of, part of me would like Batgirl better if David LaFuente took over the art, I think. Although, Babs Tarr is very interesting, and I noticed this time that she and someone named Michael Lacombe did the breakdowns. So maybe she's still kind of working her way into, because she wasn't a comic book artist before, they just recruited her off of some deviant art kind of thing to become the Batgirl artist. So they're still kind of training her to do layouts. So I think her art in general is just evolving a lot. So I don't really want her to be replaced, but if they did have to replace her, I think David LaFuente would be an awesome choice, and would also give it that young, fun feel. I don't know if the writers here are running out of steam. Maybe it's a return to too much editorial tampering or something. Probably not that. It still feels like it's its own thing. But yeah, it'll be on that level. I'm kind of interesting to see because even though I didn't like the new Batgirl in terms of her personality, I was captivated at first by the experimental density of the comic book art and everything in here. And maybe somehow that went away when one of the main writer here, Cameron Stewart, stopped doing the breakdowns. Also, I just noticed as I said his name that I used to think it was Cameron Stewart listed first and then Brendan Fletcher, but I see Brendan Fletcher listed first here. Maybe have they switched? Is Cameron Stewart now the secondary writer, and he's not doing the layouts anymore? So maybe there's less Cameron Stewart in this book at this point. I don't really know. Um, I I just felt with this issue, I felt pretty strongly some kind of softening or giving up, and I not giving up, but for instance, they got in trouble with the Watchdogs when they had a villain who was a man dressing up as Batgirl, and it was said to be transphobic, which I didn't really get because I didn't think it was about a transgendered person. I thought it was about a female impersonator, which to me is a different thing. But anyway, and they apologized profusely for that blunder, and maybe they are a little nervous about. They want to include transgendered characters as they are with Alyssa and gay characters and everything, but maybe they're feeling cautious or something after that. I don't know. That's also. I don't know why I'm making all these wild guesses about it. So that's just the way my brain thinks between watching people talk about things and reading on the internet about it and then reading the comic books themselves and then talking about it. Most of this stuff I just thought up as I talk to myself on the video screen here, imagining I'm talking to some of you. So I will talk to some of you or all of you, anyone who watches, some more in another video, probably pretty soon. Bye-bye.